I've waited 15 years to ride on the steam engine. It's a Virginia Truckee Railroad ride. And we'll be going today on a 12-mile train ride to Virginia City and then back here into Dayton or Mound House. I've also been further down the ride line in those mountains, off-roading. There's a bunch of mills and mining camps back there, and it follows the old railroad bed, and there's actually train tracks, and the train does sometimes go out into the pine nuts. And then, of course, Sierra Nevada is still snow-capped off in the distance. I'll be climbing that peak probably in the near future, the snowy one to the left. Anyways, I got to get my tickets. We're at Eastgate Depot. This is Lord Rick. So you're giving drinks away. Really nice. I get to get drunk while riding a steam engine. I think I like this train ride. Besides, you know, I'm smoking a little. You know what I'm saying? I actually smoked some cannabis oil and a bowl before I getting ready to board the train, because it's not the most comfortable ride. You know, it's good for my pain, but the drinks just take the edge off. You guys can see. I'll walk up to the steam engine. So everybody, we're going to be passing by the historic mill of American Flats. I just want to show all my friends. I went to this mill. This is what it looked like back in the day. This is what it looked like when I first moved here back in 2011. And these are some of the buildings. But this is what it looked like from on top, the aerial. This is what it looked like back in 2011. It was just a skeleton. Well, they've been going in and demolishing almost everything. And it's a haunted site. I've been here. And I got an EVP in one of the tunnels. There's been a few deaths. A few people died out here. But see, you can see the V&T spurs. The spur used to load everything. I gotta go, guys. The spur used to load up the ore and the processed ore and then jump back on the main line or the V&T Railroad.
Fun.
Yeah.
Any car, over this room.
Follow you.
We're gonna fill every seat.
You can go in the back. You wanna sit here? Yeah, because.
Across from the other.
Oh, no, this next one.
Well, I was sort of a father. I had a cat, and then I babysat a dog for a friend. And believe me, they're like children. But they don't demand as well. That's not true either. Now that I think about it, they're pretty demanding animals. Anyhow, my name is Dave. I'm one of the two alleged conductors on board the train today, with nonstop service to wherever it is we're going. And what is it? Virginia City, that's it. I was looking for the San Diego train because I have more favorite restaurants there than any place else on the planet. And I'm getting hungry. Anyhow, the other conductor's name is Fred. The other gentleman in the black vest and white shirt, or is it white shirt and black vest? Yeah, white shirt and black vest, okay. And then we have our onboard hostess today, Candy. And she will have water available if you would like it. And it's going to be not as warm as we expected it to be. It's supposed to be in the high 90s today, or high 70s today. And so that's much better than the mid 80s and better that they were talking about. But water is still available. And if you're not familiar with this area, Virginia City's elevation is 6,200 feet. We're the same elevation up there as Lake Tahoe. I keep looking for a lake up there and have yet to find one, but minor little detail. Oh, that may not work. Just let's yank it out of there. Sure, you don't want to see anything?
No, that's funny.
It's simple to solve this problem. These things were made for a movie, and they're 10 cent. There you go. I think there's one other or two others like that. Just set that package up there. This is modern technology at work. This is a team effort also. See that? See how that works? You start it and let somebody else finish it. Thank you, sir. Anyhow, I will be pointing out some things along the route, and if I say something's on the left side of the train, that's relative to our direction of travel. Pretty soon, maybe. I don't know why we're still sitting here. Any of our other crew, so ladies and gentlemen, the regularly scheduled technical difficulty will not be seen or heard today. Instead, we bring you this technical difficulty, whatever it might be.
We're just brothers.
Cool.
Okay. Because he's going to be okay. Anyhow, that would be the left side and that would be the right side, right? Okay, got that. And I'll be also mentioning a little about the history and stuff. As we're getting underway here, some safety things to make sure your trip is memorable for the right reasons. First of all, there is no walking between cars nor standing on the platforms. They're simply not set up for that, so we shoot anybody that does. And we've only had 3 issues this year. We're running out of ammunition. It's a real problem. And for the most part, we would ask that you remain seated while the train is in motion. We don't go fast, but believe me, speaking from experience, you can take a header if you're not careful. And as I walk through, I try to pick out laps I can land in that look comfortable. So, just be aware of that.
Cool.
Now, having said that,
cool.
If you're like I am, you need to stand up once in a while to make sure your legs are still functioning down there and talking to you. And if that's the case, just, brace yourself on a seat back or grab your neighbor's throat or something to keep you steady. And also, if you need to use the restroom, there is a restroom at the front of each car. Now, probably our air conditioning will be on, which means the door will be open. And if it is, which it probably will be, just reach up and release that latch, and the door opens in. It is a flush facility. We would appreciate if you use that flush button on the wall. All of us would appreciate that. And if you walk up there from somewhere on the car, just like you would on an airplane, kind of brace yourself. Just take it easy. And let's see, what else? Oh, no, there goes the neighborhood. This is one of the best brakemen I've ever worked with. Happy Father. No? Could you? Where are you headed? Find out where you is at. Darnell's actually been with us for about 10 years, and he just got hired by Union Pacific, and he's reading his assignment location. And we're hoping it's somewhere in the United States. Not if we can help it. Anyhow, this is as fast as it goes. If you have an open window, and most of them do work, not all of them, but most of them do, and in the first 2 cars, the windows go up maximum of halfway. Please, please do not force them past that halfway mark. I had 2 of them last night. They were up a fraction of an inch above that. It took me an hour to get them down again last night. So refrain from showing off your muscle power there. In the rear car, it's a little different setup. The windows are lighter, and you just push in on one or both pegs and it goes up about 1/3 of the way. Same thing though, please don't force them beyond that point. They'll never speak to us again. But if you do have an open window and we come to a tunnel, keep any important body parts inside the cars. It's fairly close clearance in there, and I'd hate to have somebody leave something behind they're not finished with, like a head or a hand or an arm or something of that sort. Kids are exempt from that. You can shove them out anytime. In fact, the Virginia Truckee Railroad in Virginia City actually sells one-way tickets for children, and they're very popular with parents. All right, what else should I mention? Oh, did anybody else? Chris is with us today, isn't he? Did anybody else see the horse that was out and about where you turned in toward the depot? Oh, it was gone already. That was our herd of horse today. Things have been pretty thin this year. We had a horse the last 3 weeks. It's the same black stallion, more or less black. It's kind of a dirty black. And last week he was down here. There's a corralled mare over here with a yearling, and he was trying to visit the mare, and the fence was very much in his way. Anyhow, that's the only horse we've seen all year. Usually we have a herd somewhere. We often have deer. We've only had 1 or 2 occasions with deer this year, and that's been about it. In years past, we've had mountain lion on 2 occasions. We've had bobcats. Last year, I think it was, that we had the bobcats, which is kind of a trip because they're kind of nocturnal and you usually don't see them at all. And like I say, deer and coyotes. The first few years we operated this train, the coyotes were abundant, and then they just disappeared. The last couple of years, they've started to come back again, so I don't know quite what happened, but those coyotes were show-offs. They would run alongside the train, and there'd be some on either side. Then they'd run past the train and cross the tracks in front of us, just to prove that they were going faster than we were. But then we've had butterflies pass us, so that's nothing unusual. One man asked if we could go faster, and the simple answer is no.
It says here, modern day operations travel at
Did anybody else hear kind of a whistling sound just now? I wonder what that means. Anyhow, I know I was going to say something profound. Oh, that was it. Yeah, this train actually could go faster. We do have actually a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit over this section of track. To us, that's high-speed railroading. But I don't think we've ever gotten to that speed. I hope not. But just to put things in perspective, the original railroad in 1869 had a maximum 10-mile-an-hour speed limit, except at switches and bridges that were 3 miles an hour. The fastest passenger train from Carson City to Virginia City took 1.5 hours to cover 21.5 miles. It was called the Lightning Express. There's optimism for you. Things were a little different then, but this was never a high-speed railroad. We have way too many curves, and we have to go up. You see a horse over there? Well, there is a mare in a wooden fence over on the other side of the road. Anyhow, I was going to say something else profound. I wish I could remember that one too. So, welcome aboard. That's what worries me. Well, this last semester when I was in class at TMCC teaching, I was sort of like, you know, you get a thought and it just evaporates. And I'm like, anybody see that thought? Where'd it go? I think I kind of, if I did that, I'd never say anything. I'd still be holding it. Oh, yeah, there's a horse over there on the left. Not much of a horse, but a horse is a horse, of course, unless the horse... And no one time to talk to a horse, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Red.
Cross?
Or something like that.
You know that?
Yeah, that's the mare and the little yearling that the stallion was trying to go visit a week or so ago, and apparently didn't succeed. I think we have one really frustrated stallion in this neighborhood now. And it's kind of rare. You don't often see a single horse. And this year, that's about all we have seen. And Washoe Valley down around the lake is usually where you see big herds of horses, and haven't even seen them this year. Anyhow, there goes another thought. I'm making up quite a collection. Somebody should look for them. They might be worth something. Should mention something about this equipment. This passenger car at the rear of the train that I'm in is a 1916 product. The first two cars are 1914, all built by the Pullman Company just outside of Chicago for the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad in New Jersey.
Lackawanna is Buffalo.
And they were there until the mid-1970s. These are what are called day coaches. And they were used in commute service eventually, but day coaches would be something like short train trips of a few hours, a day, something like that. And actually, they were pretty fancy for the time. You probably noticed some of these little beds that seem to be open above you on either side. Well, those at one time were what they call clear story windows in all three cars. And they opened right to the outside. So they would have been frosted glass, and so it admits some light overhead any time of year. But you could open them up for additional ventilation, maybe when they had the steam heat on the car in the wintertime. That would give you a little breathing air above you. All you had to do was stand up and suck it in. When they modernized these cars, they extended the roofs a little bit, and so only about 6 of those vents actually still work. And that's modern technology for you. You have something pretty good, and then you screw it up. I think they should have stopped with the rotary dial phone. That was all the technology we needed, because it still gave you the opportunity to speak to someone. It's always number, please. A lot of people don't remember that. A lot of people weren't around then. I think I mentioned that we do have water available if anybody needs it. It is $1 a bottle this morning. As the temperature rises this afternoon, the price will go up. Something about supply and demand, I don't Now, just a short distance back, some of you may have noticed that coming in from the right-hand side of the train, there was a little dirt road that was kind of angling in toward us. was the original Virginia and Truckee Railroad, and where we joined that road back there about half a mile or less. From that point on, we are on the original right-of-way all the way into Virginia City, with only two minor changes. One at Overman Pit that didn't exist when the railroad did, and the other is at tunnel number 3, which refused to cooperate when Mr. Gray tried to reopen it by collapsing 3 times in 90 days. So, question is, why the heck would they build a railroad here? We have a gentleman that prepares, designs, and modifies whistles for steam trains. We're experimenting. He's up in the cab, so get used to it. Okay, how many have ridden the Polar Express out of Carson City in the wintertime? All right, you'll be happy to know that this is the North Pole. And in fact, where is it? No, this is right there. That's the North Pole. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that the North Pole was that close to Carson City. But it loses something in the daytime. But, yeah, those are the presents you get. Actually, those things are concrete blocks that help tie down the buildings from the winds up here that we get in the wintertime. But that's the North Pole for the Polar Express.
I haven't seen all this down here, you know?
21.
It's like every once in a while you
Just
see
old enough,
shops
you're
and old
22,
buildings
you're just old enough to drink and enjoy it. 21, you don't enjoy
We
it.
ride back, we'll be on, I'll go on that
How old
side,
are you?
so I can see that side. This side's cool though, because
Me
it's
too.
the wilderness side of things right in here, the Virginia range.
Yeah, it's been a really rough
There's some
3
big
years.
houses back in here too. People have some private property back here.
One lady birthday here, I know I had a gentleman earlier that was having a birthday today, so we've got a couple of birthday men and women on board today. So congratulations. I could say something profound like you've got a lot of good years left, but I can't say that. The last 20 or 30 years have been, well, never mind. All right, so why would you build a railroad in 1869 between Virginia City and Carson City? What was the incentive? Well, the answer is something that happened way back probably in the mid-1850s, the latest. And that was a bunch of people heading for California's gold fields, prospectors, people looking to make their fortune somehow. I kind of picture them getting as far as Eagle Valley and looking ahead and saying, you got to be kidding, there's another mountain range to go over, and the biggest one, and kind of throwing in the towel, as it were. And they were finding a little gold in the Carson River, but more important, 2 of the tributaries to the Carson River. 6 Mile Canyon, which starts a couple of miles outside of Dayton and terminates in what became the north end of Virginia City. And likewise, the Gold Canyon, which starts a couple of miles north of Mountain House and terminates in what became Gold Hill. They started following those traces. And they did that for several years. And finally, and I love this part, finally, almost simultaneous discoveries were made of significant gold deposits at the head of both canyons. Isn't that great? Some guy says, wow, look, I just hit my bonanza. And the guy next to him says, hey, you did too? I just have one over here. Kind of loses something there, doesn't it? It kind of takes away from the moment. Anyhow, started a gold rush, and that's what founded Gold Hill and Virginia City. But there were a couple of problems. One of them was there was not a lot of drinking water in Virginia City or Gold Hill, what they call potable water. That meant the ore had to be shipped down to the Carson River, the nearest source of water. And that was slow and expensive because only pack animals and wagons could be used. And there was an animal, probably a termite. I'm the only person that doesn't have termites in my apartment complex because I live in a restricted neighborhood. Think about it. You'll get there. Anyhow, the other problem was the gold was often mixed up in a bluish-gray kind of clay-like substance. Anybody read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on this train? One of my favorite books. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anybody? Oh, come on. What kind of a train crew is this, or crowd is this? Yeah. Anybody in there, Fred, read The Hitchhiker's Guide to... Oh, I see a hand or two. Okay. Well, on the starship, the protagonist wants to get a cup of tea from the dispenser. The dispenser gives him what is described as almost, but not quite, completely unlike tea. Isn't that a beautiful description? It covers so many bases. But that's... He might be a musician also. But that is actually what the stuff was that the gold was contained in. It was almost, but not quite, completely unlike clay. It was somewhat malleable, and in fact, when it was soft, they were using it to fill in potholes in the area, and basically throwing it away otherwise. Well, somebody finally had the sense to send some to Grass Valley, California, to the assay office there, and see if there was a chemical means of getting the gold out. Well, it tells you something when the assayer and two attorney friends show up and start fighting claims here. And he points out to the people, he says, what you're throwing away is 80% pure silver. That's the reason you were getting that blue-gray tarnish in there. Just like on your sterling silver sets, you get a little bit of tarnish with time. It oxidizes. And that's what was happening. This ore was so rich, it was oxidizing and turning color. So the gold rush turned into a silver rush, and of course that's what really made Virginia City. That really started the boom. And of course Nevada is the silver state. There were a lot of other camps like Tonopah, like Eureka, like, oh golly, there's got to be 20 or 30 different mining camps at one time or another. But Virginia City was definitely the Queen City. Well, during the early 1860s and the beginning, by the way, down below us is the east end of Mound House, the community we have been going around for a while. So, in the early 1860s, an outfit called the Bank of California moved into both Gold Hill and Virginia City. And they started making low-interest loans to the mines and mills. Now, the mills were about 2 dozen along the Carson River, between the west end of the Carson River Canyon and Dayton. 2 dozen mills. Now these were not little toy operations. These things individually could handle about 1,000 tons of ore a day. They were self-contained because there were no 7-Elevens around to get a quart of milk if it ran low. In fact, there wasn't much of anything around then. So they were self-contained. They had the mill. They had repair operations, they had blacksmith shops, they had dormitories, bunkhouses, commissaries, the whole works. And they'd go shopping in Dayton or Carson City about once a month for good supplies. Anyhow, the bank was giving them low interest loans, 1% a month. Not bad, especially if you looked at your credit card interest rates these days. That looked like a bargain. Same thing with the mines. But the catch was, if you missed a payment, the bank immediately foreclosed. And when the low water time of the year hit along the Carson River, many of the mills would shut down, and guess what? The bank picked them up. By the mid-1860s, the Bank of California owned about 80% of the mines in Virginia City and Gold Hill, and about the same percentage of mills along the Carson River. In other words, they had a pretty good monopoly. And they decided the only way to stay in business was to build a railroad, so all levels of ore could be processed and handled. because all that had been shipped up to date was really the highest of the high-grade ores, since it was so expensive to get it to the mills. But hey, we're talking about a bank. Anybody know of a bank that actually uses their own money for anything? I can say that with a straight face. My uncle was a vice president at Bank of America. The only thing he ever gave out was Band-Aids. Oh yeah, and an occasional rubber band. Anyhow, finally, Orange Bay County, which is now Carson City, Lyon County, and Story County, the three counties the railroad would go through from Carson City to Virginia City, they got them to ante up bond money. And when that was done, the railroad tossed in its own bonds and stock and started building the railroad in 1869. Now, this is something that really fascinates me. This railroad, 21.5 miles long, Virginia City to Carson City, claiming 1,700 feet from Carson City Depot to Virginia City Depot, was completed from the first day of surveys to the first passenger train into Virginia City in 6 months, using 1869 technology, which was pick and shovel work and little black powder. How did they do that? Anybody remember something else that happened in 1869? 1869, anybody? May 10th to be exact, 1869. Union Pacific celebrated a couple of years ago with the big boy in Provo and so forth, the completion of the first Transcontinental Railroad, the joining of the Central Pacific and Union Pacific at Promontory Point. And that freed up a lot of skilled labor. And this railroad was smart enough to hire, depending on what book you read, 500, 800, or 1,200 workers from the Central Pacific. Most of those were Chinese, and they went to work on this railroad. They did such a good job that rebuilding the railroad between Gold Hill and Carson City basically required some grading out of places that had been eroded, but the right-of-way that was established was still good. The retaining structures of hand-hewn stone, hand-quarried stone, were still good. Everything was usable. The only real problem was Tunnel 2, which had been dynamited shut at both ends in the 1970s to keep people out. But that's a good construction job. 150 years later, we had to put down ballast and new rail, and that was it. Good to go. NDOT, you ought to be listening to this. Hire some of those people. But wait a minute. The railroad says Virginia and Truckee, not Virginia and Carson, or Virginia and Carson City. Well, 3 years later, Washoe County finally added up bond money, so they completed the railroad to Reno. And at the Truckee River in Reno, it connected with the Central Pacific. So Virginia for Virginia City and Truckee for the Truckee River in Reno. That was always their intention. Finally, in 1906, one more extension was built south to Minden, Nevada, and that gave the railroad a whopping total of 75 miles of track. But, down below us on the right-hand side, that community you see is Silver City. Of the three Comstock communities, it was the one that never really got out of the starting gate. They found some gold down there, and there was about a 2-week boom, I think, before they kind of gave up with that one. Virginia City was definitely the Queen City, and imagine it. Today, when you visit Virginia City, it's a little hard to picture. At its peak in 1875, the official census of Virginia City was 35,000 people, making it the largest city west of Denver. It was also probably the richest city in the world. They say there were more millionaires living there than anywhere else. I think the count was 56 millionaires. I asked myself, if I was a millionaire, would I live in Virginia City? Say, as opposed to London, New York, Paris, Burbank, Death Valley, someplace with a little class. Okay, I think we're coming up to tunnel number 2. We should get. And if I hear a thump, thump, thump sound, we'll know somebody didn't call their head in. By the way, tunnel 3 is, or tunnel 2 here is the longest tunnel on the railroad at 565 feet. It's also slightly curved, so it'll get pitch dark. Anybody afraid of the dark besides me? Guess not.
There it is. Me standing on the side here, just hugging the wall. And I would too. And I would. Oh man. Drink them Bloody Marys. Drinking them Bloody Marys.
Now, tunnel 2.
Got sunglasses on, it's even darker.
The tunnel we just went through, Tunnel 2, was also the single most expensive project on the reconstruction of the railroad to Carson City. As I mentioned, it had been dynamited shut at both ends. And they estimated it cost about $500,000 to reopen. Well, they got into the tunnel and discovered that dynamited shut both ends should be stabilized rock almost entirely into the tunnel. They saw a lot of steel plate along the side and steel beams. Well, hey, it was a government project. What's a decimal point, right? And then it got done. And over on the right-hand side of the train is an area known as American Flat, getting its name in part because relative to the area around here, it is kind of flat. You really have to stretch your imagination, but relatively speaking, it is kind of flat. It's also got the best water in Story County, which probably explains why they put 3 different generations of cyanide mills here to process the ore. That way it keeps the water out of people's hands, so to speak, we hope. That started in the 1930s, and the last one just shut down about 5 years ago. So it's got kind of a long history there. Now we're on the bottom side of a pretty good sized horseshoe curve. If you look to the right, you can see where we'll be in a minute. And this is one of 2 horseshoe curves of this size. The other one's at Gold Hill. Now, mention that this railroad by 1906 was 75 miles long. But in a little touch of irony, it was in the 1870s when this railroad was only 50 miles long, Virginia City to Carson City to Reno, that it gained a worldwide reputation as being the richest and most profitable railroad in the world. 40 to 50. I'm going to take that away from him. Anyhow, 40 to 50 trains a day were operating over this very line, single track main line with a couple of more sidings than what we have today because it extended farther. And those were through trains between Virginia City and Carson City. That doesn't include all the shorter moves like from Carson City to Mound House or Virginia City to Gold Hill or something like that. This was one heck of a busy railroad. It was so profitable. The 3 principal shareholders, who by the way just happened to be directors at the Bank of California, were splitting an average of $100,000 a month in dividends. Now to me, $100,000 is a lot of money. Oh, we're being followed.
You sleeping? I look through your glasses, your eyes are closed.
That's probably ICE. Everybody got their birth certificates with you? Actually, that's our fire patrol. It's a little motor car, and it's just a safety precaution. We have never had a fire that we've started, nor is it very likely. But just on the off chance it could happen, better safe than sorry. And they're well prepared. They have a shovel, they have a broom, 2 6-packs and a cell phone. And I would say that pretty well completes the package. And we actually have had 2 fires that we've had to deal with, but neither one of them was started by us. Some fire was started by somebody literally almost playing with matches, and we happened to see it. We got there and helped them put it out. And there was another one that was kind of similar to that. But as far as we're concerned, it's probably not going to happen. Anyhow, so, something I should mention, $100,000, that's a lot of money. Now that continued for about 8 years. Now, we're talking 1870s dollars. Today that would be like handing you a check for about $15 million a month. I could live on that. It would be tight, but you know, I would probably not have to have 17 Rolls Royces, and I could give up a few things. What made the railroad so profitable then? Well, that happened because of an event in Virginia City in 1863. A gentleman by the name of John Mackey already had made a fortune in the Kentucky mine in Gold Hill. He turned his sights on to Virginia City. Now, I kind of think he was one of those unique individuals that can visualize mentally patterns and stuff. He worked in a number of the mines in Virginia City. And I think he put together a mental image of what was happening with the ore bodies that they were following. Because in 1873, he formed a partnership. Same one? You'll see some formerly wild horses over on the right. There might be a few left. This was a rescue operation that was primarily a fundraising scam.
A couple horses.
And a number of the horses have been shipped out.
Baby and
but
two
they're
adults.
looking better than they were last weekend. Last weekend, there was nothing but skins and bones over there. A couple of water troughs were knocked over. Nobody around taking care of business. Fred, the Pintos are back.
Oh,
Maybe they took them somewhere else and get them fattened up again or something. But, okay, we do have a wild horse over here somewhere. Down to our right in the valley. Way over there. That's our frustrated stallion.
I see him.
Anyhow, we're there. This is Scales. And you notice we're slowing down. That's because we're coming to a stop,
There he is.
probably,
He's way out there.
today.
Camera doesn't focus well with the
Unless we're
reflections.
not coming. By the way, those markers back there appeared overnight. And either we had a mass murder thing up here that nobody knew about, or the guy that owns the mine up the hill above us came down and put him there one night. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. That concludes our trip, and have a nice day. Now, if you leave right now, you can start walking and just follow the tracks back. There'll be no other trains behind us, and you should be home for dinner. Maybe. It's mostly downhill.
Anyway, there was right there. The last time we were at
Now, we're stopped here. There's some English guy a lot of years ago said it's not a good idea for 2 objects to occupy the same place at the same time. I think it's Isaac Newton said that, one of Newton's laws or something. Anyhow, we have a train that goes from Virginia City to Gold Hill, and they're just arriving in Gold Hill. You can't see it from here, but it's up there. So we wait until they start their trip back to Virginia City before we proceed to give them plenty of room. California. And it's what they call a Mike or Mikado, a 282. And our fuel of choice is oil. We use recycled crankcase oil because it's the cheapest stuff we can get. And we will consume on the round trip today about 300 gallons of that fuel. We will convert about 3,000 gallons of water to steam. That's what steam locomotives do. And it is superheated steam, so this locomotive has no trouble with a 3-car train or a 4-car train. Even a 5 or 6-car train would probably be cool. But this time is spent by our crew making sure all the parts are still where they belong before we proceed. All right. So, Mr. Mackey and his partners set out to gain control of your neighbor goodbye. Something like that. Anyhow, they started following that scene.
Well, you got two different entities here.
And in about 50 yards, it kind of petered out.
No financial support.
Well, that in itself is quite a trip. 50 yards. They say a good day's worth of progress in the mines up there was 2 feet in 24 hours. So 50 yards, that's about 3 months worth of work.
Depot on that end, and that's it. No cars.
And I said, what the heck, it just petered out. Mr. Mackey says, let's try again. They picked up another little seam at the 1,300 foot level. Well, the end result was a little different. At about the same distance out, they hit a zone of silver ore 55 feet wide. Now these passenger cars internally are about 70 feet long. So 55 feet is about 2/3 of the length of this passenger car. That's the width of that ore zone. It extended the height of a 3-story building. So 35, 40 feet, and the length of a football. They had hit what became known as the Big Bonanza. That stuff assayed at nearly 80% pure silver, judging from my bank account. And that's why the railroad was so profitable for about an 8 to 10-year period, was hauling the ore from that bonanza. And they got rich. Virginia City and Reno after the 1880s started hitting hard times. In fact, Lode, whose population peaked out in 1875 also, was about 5,000. 25 years later, 1900, it was a complete ghost town. But Virginia City never got to that point. The lowest was about the time of World War II when it had descended to about 450. Today, Virginia City is about 750, and Gold Hill is undergoing a resurgence. It's up to 72, including 2 dogs in the cap. But with the decline in the mining activity, the purpose of the railroad ended. But it kind of struggled. Tried to keep going, but in 1939, the original part of the railroad between Virginia City and Carson City was abandoned, and the rails torn up about 3 years later. The remainder from Minden to Carson City to Reno operated until 1950, and on May 31st, the last train left Reno for Minden. In fact, last year, I had a lady on board the train that had ridden the last train out of Reno in 1950. She was about, I think she said 12 years old at the time. And oddly enough, she didn't remember much about it, but she said it was kind of like losing an old friend, knowing that the train was going to go away forever. Which it did, sort of.
Wow.
But the year before, 1938, when this part was abandoned, they had one last passenger train from Carson City to Virginia City. And on that train were a whole bunch of rail fans. And one in particular kind of took note. A gentleman by the name of a young man, 17 years old, by the name of Robert Gray. So as they say, he got bitten by the bug. Hope it felt good. He decided he wanted as much of this railroad as he could using his own resources. He physically started that project in 1968. It took him nearly 5 years just to get the titles to the property that the old railroad ran through. And he said one of the biggest problems was no title insurance company would handle it because the titles were so clouded and so messed up. Finally got somebody to do it. I think there were 67 different individual property owners that he had to deal with between Gold Hill and Virginia City. but he got the job done. And as a consequence, on July 2nd, 1976, the first passenger train on the reconstructed Virginia and Truckee Railroad operated all the way from Virginia City to the east end of tunnel number 4 that we'll be going through in a little while. About a mile, a little over a mile, maybe a mile and a quarter distance, but it was a beginning. And word got out, you might remember, in July 4th, 1976, there was a big world nationwide celebration. A lot of people thought it was a bicentennial. No, it was because of the Virginia and Truckee reconstruction. Right? Okay.
Right, no, I'm just screwing.
If you believe that, I have a bridge just north of San Francisco for sale. Great cash flow, low monthly payments. Anyhow, the next few years he spent trying to reopen Tunnel 3, which kept collapsing. The first time he stayed up for about 90 days and then collapsed again. So he tried 2 more times and finally threw in the towel and built what they call a shortline to get around it, which we use today.
Oh man, we're about to look what we're about to pass.
In addition, the design of this railroad kept
Train cars or the train.
at 2%. This one's a 4% grade, so it's a little bit of a struggle. We'll be asking you to all lean forward when we start up, so that you get all the help we can handle here.
Yep.
We eventually terminated the tracks in Gold Hill because there were obstacles far beyond his resources there. Beyond that point.
Oh, that's the open one.
And one of them we're coming up to, the Overman pit, which was the first open pit mine on the Comstock. Started immediately after this railroad was abandoned in 1939. They actually used real steam shovels and steam dozers and steam equipment. Internal combustion wasn't real widespread in 1939 for construction and mining. Anyhow, then in about 2005, 6, 7, someplace in there, the commission to rebuild the Carson City put together a program to rebuild from Gold Hill to Carson City. And the first train on that operated in the fall of 2010 from Carson City to Virginia City for the day. And the official start of the seasons then were the following year. And so now, starting about Mother's Day through the end of October, we have 1 train each day, Saturday and Sunday, pretty much the rest of the season, except for 2 weekends, and I'm not sure why we're not running those trains. One of them is July 4th weekend, and I don't understand that one because that's always been a sellout. The other one is Labor Day weekend, likewise, is always been a sellout. But I don't make those decisions. I'm not allowed to play with the decision-making region board.
Those are the wrong way in then the rest of it's like.
Anyhow,
You're looking, you're shopping.
so we actually have 2 different enterprises involved in providing this service. The Virginia and Truckee Railroad, which is headquartered in Virginia City and still owned by the Gray family, though Mr. Robert Gray, who founded it, the rebuild, passed away about 6 or 7 years ago at the age of 97, and his son has taken over. And we have Carson City, which is a quasi-government operation. I wonder, is that quasi or quasi government operation? Oh, you just scared a rabbit. Okay, coming up on the left side of the train is the Overman pit, and that is what stopped Mr. Gray from going any farther. The pit is about 1,000 feet long, 800 feet wide, about 350 feet deep. And to get across it on the rebuild of this part of the railroad, required a $500,000 engineered fill to get across here at one end of the pit. On the right-hand side of the train is the Gold Hill Cemetery, which means we must be coming into Gold Hill, I guess.
Tree growing down there.
Yeah, not this last winter, but the winter before, water reached almost the top of the cottonwood tree down there and disappeared within a couple of weeks. This area is underlain by somewhere between 400 and 700 miles of mine tunnels and shafts, depending on what book you read. And I suppose a lot of that water trickled into those old mine shafts. This is a place you don't want to be in a big earthquake. You'll be down in Dayton. I am curious, not just mentioned, how many know that Nevada is the third most active, seismically active state in the country? Few people, yeah. What's a trip? It's in 1869, there was a magnitude 6 earthquake that occurred between Gold Hill and Virginia City, and a couple of days later between Virginia City and Washoe Lake. And Reno, its most recent one was about the mid-1950s, magnitude 7. So be prepared. I don't want to be in a casino either.
Exactly.
How would you explain that to the insurance company? I was killed by an avalanche of slot machines? Okay, this used to be where we're actually at right now was a 325-foot long wooden trestle, 86 feet high. What was here was the Crown Point Ravine. The ravine has been completely filled in by mining debris, so we cross it on the mining debris today. I think I would prefer the trestle. But I'm kind of one way about those things. Also, on the right-hand side, you can see the Gold Hill Hotel. You'll get a better view of it from the other side of this horseshoe curve. That is the oldest continuously operating hotel in Nevada. It opened for business in 1859 in the tent. And you can still rent a room there. Not in the tent, but in the hotel, the permanent thing. The oldest part of the permanent structure, and you can see it from the other side when you get over there, is 1861, and it's still in use. On the right-hand side of the train, this red building is the original Gold Hill Depot. And on the left-hand side of the train is the Crown Imperial open line. Open pit line. That's actually on the site of the original 1869 discovery in this immediate area. So that's one of the two places that started the whole business.
Wow. It's the depot. I've been there. Oh, cool.
Okay, if everybody would just lean forward a little bit, this is the steepest grade on the railroad, and we need all the help we can get.
Huh? Wow. We're going up the final grade to Virginia City.
On the right, into the valley, that red building with the metal roof is the Bank of California branch.
We're in the tunnel.
Then you can see the stonework and masonry section with the white balcony. That's the oldest part of the Gold Hill Hotel dating to 1861. Immediately to the left of the hotel, those two metal buildings in the west are the remains of the Yellow Jacket mine, one of the more productive in Gold Hill, and the site of the worst mining disaster on the Comstock, when a fire broke out in 1869, trapping and killing 37 miners. How do you get a fire started in the gold mine? Well, remember, they didn't have electricity. Candles were issued to the miners when they went on their shift, and they had a metal spike about knee long, kind of thin, looked like a long toothpick of sorts, and with a lid to hold the candle. And you shove that into a timber or maybe a crack in the rock or something, and that was it. Well, one of those candles apparently got forgotten during the shift change and not counted, and that's all it took. The timber caught fire, and that was it. Now, I don't think too many people burned to death, but when you suffocate it, like, it makes a big difference. But the first responders, went to the mine, and also a couple of other mines where smoke was pouring out because they were all connected. So the biggest problem they had was with the oil frames and the wives of the miners that were down there. They wanted to get in there and do something. And there, of course, was nothing to be done. And the biggest problem was keeping them out and hoping for the best. That's all they could do. But it reopened a few months later and still continued to be one of the more productive mines up here. Okay, we're at tunnel number 4. So again, watch the body parts. Tunnel number 4 on the right-hand side of the train, we can see a mine dump that is the remains of the East Yellow Jacket mine, and also some good-sized foundation structures over there near us. And just back a little bit from that, and over to the right, are smaller foundations. That would have been for the restaurants. The big ones toward us would have been for the pump house. Why would they need a pump house when there wasn't much drinking water up here? Well, the mines had a different problem. Starting about 500 feet down, they started running into exceedingly hot water that was highly mineralized and great volumes of it. Water temperatures range from 170 to 190 degrees. And it was so highly mineralized, it was worthless for anything. It was wastewater. Well, it wasn't just a trickle. The combined output from just the mines in Virginia City averaged 10 million gallons of water a day. That's a respectable babbling brook. It was a hazard for the miners and a big problem and expense for the mines. And over on the right-hand side, another remnant of a mine. That is the Ward Bullion. Isn't that a great name, Ward Bullion? You just know it's going to make you rich. Well, I would have been a little disappointed. It produced nothing. And it worked off and on for about the 1960s up until about 1900. But when you think about it, there were actually about 250 active mining claims up here at the peak. Of that, about a dozen.
Oh, look. Friends.
We had both of them this morning. There's one in there.
Some more horses
One in there. The other end of the car.
So almost in Virginia City. This is like the final stretch. See, because there's the bridge right here. You and I walked under this bridge right here. We walked the tracks a long time ago. Virginia City.
Oh, that whistle means we're in Virginia City, so welcome to Virginia City. Looks a lot different from the other side of the tunnel or overpass, doesn't it? Okay, coming up on the right-hand side of the train are the current Virginia and Truckee Railroad shops on the site of the original 1869 shops. The reconstruction, both by Gray and the Commission, have tried to keep things reasonably historically accurate in respect to locations. Go ahead, John. Wait a minute. Wait until we get to the buy-in. Well, then we wouldn't have to look so hard. We know where to look. Oh, a wildlife, a squirrel.
Brandy, just your thing. Brandy's like, I'm just about to kill it. Just
One thing I will ask, pretty please, and please again, do remain seated till we come to that world famous pulling each stop you hear about. the very front of the first car lined up immediately with the lift up there so that people can use that if needed. And this is a 300-foot long train, and we have to get that thing within about an inch of where we need to be. So it might be a little bit backing and forthing and juggling around, so wait until that's completed. The engineer will give one final blast on the whistle, means it's all clear, and we'll holler all clear. Over on the right-hand side of the train, there's some repurposed mine dumps. They're now the county fairgrounds where the camel races are used every year for held. Oh, where? I couldn't have time to get me 4 or 5 more. Wasted, but I'll be looking for it. Okay, coming up on the right-hand side, those building is the Savage Mine and Mill, and sometimes it's open for a really neat demonstration in there. They walk you through the process.
We've been in there.
Separating gold out of gold ore. Everything from the crushing stage to the final separation.
I've been in there.
Let's see if they're going to be open today. They haven't been recently. That says they're open. It's well worth a visit. Okay, again, please remain seated till we come to that stop, and we'll let you know when that happens. Enjoy your day in Virginia City, and we'll see you back here about 2:45, 2:40 sometime. And don't get lost.
Oh, that might be it there. Yeah, must have been the beach one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I almost gave you a flat tire. Flat tire. Amy's shopping cart.
Ormsby House. Oh, I like the little pictures up on top. Stewart Indian School. I've been to all these places, man. All of them.
Either we
Eureka Mill.
level up here or you give up. There's something about kids that's not happening. Oh, there goes the shuttle.
Which last step a little longer. This one. Here you go.
Maybe I can get a picture in front of the engine right here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. Get a picture in front of the engine, because I can stand right in front of it if you want to get my pic. You could even use my phone. I don't So it's quite the ride. It only goes about 15 miles an hour, and then they take like a 10-minute break on the tracks and stop. It's pretty cool. I've never done this, and I've lived out here almost 15 years. So it was something I wanted to do for Father's Day this year. Never know how long you're going to be here, and I plan on eventually moving out of the area, so I figure why not take a train ride. Drink Bloody Marys, have a good time.
Is that?
beautiful day in the 70s. Father's Day 2025, everybody. I wanted to film this. I promised everybody I would. All my friends asked me, so give you a bird's eye view of what a train ride is like from Carson to Virginia City. There's a piece of history right here. You can't go wrong with any of this. It's well worth the money. It's for a good cause anyways. It's very expensive to run these trains. They use steam and recycled oil, but it's still expensive to run it. No complaints. It's a decent train. Nice little ride, very scenic, up in the Virginia mountains. So back up, change tracks right here, and then they'll go the other direction back to Carson when I'm ready to go.
Canyon from us is a good-sized mine dump, and even the hoistworks remain of the combination shaft. They began that shaft in 1875. It was a joint enterprise by the Collar Potosi, the Hale and Norcross, and, the Golden Curry, and the Savage Mine. Okay, how many can go? We have an employee that has a claim up here, and he gets really excited. Told me one day, I got $500 worth of gold out of my claim this weekend. Said, how long have you been working it? Well, about 6 months. Well, I don't know about you, but doing the arithmetic, those are really lousy wages. But maybe he got a nugget that was really kind of spectacular or something. But $500, that's not even an ounce of gold. It's about a quarter of an ounce of gold these days. So, I don't know. Now that hot water created the working conditions of the miners, and there was a president that visited here. Actually, there were a couple of presidents, Theodore Roosevelt and U.S. Grant. And after he returned to the surface, he was kind of blankly quoted as saying, "That is as close to hell as I ever want to come." And that was kind of the interior of the mines. Between the air temperatures and the humidity that was created, 125 to 130 degree temperatures, and that same water created humidity that made Florida look like a desert. Your humidity down there was 90 to 100% as a result. Those are your working conditions. They were so brutal that in 1861, as far as I know, 8-course meal with all sorts of stuff that I wouldn't have expected. When you remember 1876, the transportation, refrigeration that existed, how they had grapes and fresh fruits and nuts, fresh fish, seafood for Christmas dinner, and game, and that was $1.50. I think I lived at the wrong time. Big school prize. On the right-hand side of the train are some mine dumps from the Homestead mine, and there was actually a Fort Homestead located at the top of the ridge there.
Oh, stuff I've seen before.
Kind of a trip. They never did anything. It was set up originally by the cavalry to protect the area from the marauding Indians that never showed up. And then during during the war between the states, the Union Army took it over, and that was to protect this area from the Confederates. It's a blue spruce tree that I watched go see about a foot and a half high.
We were in that tunnel.
Beautiful, symmetrical, lush
On the other
beauty
side
that
of
you see
Gold
right
Hill, I
here
think.
coming up. Look at that thing.
I believe
I'll tell you
so.
when you get past this mountain, there's a back.
Isn't that something? It's not native around here, so the assumption is it was from a piece of a pine cone or something brought in by a bird, maybe. And my thought a few years ago was, boy, that'd make a beautiful Christmas tree. Then
It is. That's the tunnel I took you with. We were on the back end. This is Gold Hill. That's that haunted tunnel I took you with.
Possibly, it's tapped into the Eagle Valley Golf Course.
We went to the end. It was collapsed. We went to the end of it. I took you to it.
But
That was when we stayed at the Gold Hill
with a
Hotel.
serious problem now.
When it was all snowy out and stuff. That's when I took you to it. Because that's down here is Silver City, and into the right's Gold Hill where we're coming through. See, there's the tunnel behind you. Yes, we went around it right there. We went around the fence. That guy's on the back there looking out.
I don't know if you noticed, the branches are being brushed to the sides of the passenger cars. So the question is, do we trim the tree back or move the tracks? And so far the consensus has been to move the tracks, but our boss for some reason is a little hesitant on that one. So we'll see. You want to do that now or you want me to do the other thing first? All righty. Since this is Father's Day, we have a couple of little treats for fathers. You're not a father yet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Okay, what we need to do, we have two gifts to give away. They are baseball caps with the Virginia Truckee Railroad logo on them. And we have two to give away. And the first one is for the oldest father on board the train. Now, yesterday we had 89. So, does anybody say 100? Just for starters? Anybody?
I'm good. Thank you.
I'm going to take that toy away from that engineer. Anybody, say 90?
Sandwich out.
Next card?
Took off with it. I didn't finish. I had half a sandwich left. And I said to him, dude, I wasn't done eating. Oh, I'm sorry. So I had to file a complaint, and it took forever to get the supervisor. That's why I was late.
What do you
It
got,
took 10
Fred?
minutes to get a supervisor.
I can't see it.
And I said I got a train. They wanted to replace it. I'm like, I don't have time for you to cook me another sandwich. I'm like, I want my
Anybody
money.
older than 86?
So they caught me for my sandwich.
All right. Boy, this is a young crowd.
So instead, I paid $45 for lunch for
I had a
myself.
fellow a couple of years ago, there was 100.
I treated myself.
What's the matter with you guys?
On Father's Day.
Stay active.
I gave you $40. Yeah, whatever.
Now, since we have the oldest father on board the train at 86, then okay, sorry about that. Okay, April or thereabouts of this year. Anybody want to confess to a baby in April that may or may not be yours? March? March? The other two cars said it was back here in this car. Are they smoking something? February, January? December of last year? Anybody? Listen, in a minute, I'm going to qualify. Okay, well, November of last year? Anybody?
July last year.
I'm sorry?
Last year.
July last year.
July of last year? All right, July of last year we have. Anybody more recent than that? I guess we finally got ourselves a winner. Who was that gentleman? Where is he?
Right here.
No, not you, Darnell. You don't qualify.
I want to film off the back right there.
Adoption qualify?
Johnson's qualified?
Adoption.
Oh, of course. There you go.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure glad we got that squared away. I was afraid nobody had any basics in the last couple of years. Kind of worrisome. And for those of you that weren't so lucky to be the oldest and most recent father on board, he has some baseball caps that are available only on this train in several colors, black, blue, red, and green. The red is a dark red, and as I say, they're available only on this train. The money collected from them stays on the train. They're part of what we use for maintenance work. And welcome aboard. Thank you. I hope you had a great Father's Day and are continuing to have fun. Doesn't take them long to disappear. And I have a flag of wood. How many would be interested in adopting a horse? One? How about adopting several horses? Well, this rescue operation, actually for a while, but it turns out there actually were camels used in Virginia City. They were used as pack animals. Bad mouthing camels and saying that camels and people can't get along. Somebody pointed out that camels and people have been getting along for a couple of thousand years now. And some were turned over to the army to continue in use. And the last wild camel that was spotted was about 1910. And anybody that sees one since then probably needs to have a DUI check. But they kind of died out. The competition with the wild horses and deer, they were not successful because the other animals were more adapted to this climate. And the camel's hooves were for soft sand, not the rocky soils we have around here. So the odds are a little bit stacked against them. But I've never been a camel, so I can't speak for any of them personally. Comstock Mining Company's milling site is all, I guess I should address. And it was like,
I gotta get that view.
like I say, when she approached me, are you rich? Can you adopt me? But anyhow, you feel free. I work as kind of an organic tip jar when you actually train. And usually it goes up. I get 90% and they get the other 10% of fighting. It's the American way. So just call me Owen Musk Jr. But anyhow, there's no obligation there. In fact, we should be tipping you because I don't know about the rest of the group, but if it weren't for you, we'd speak past tense about her. Anyhow, thank you for joining us today. And at this point, I'm going to shut up. Regard to anything on about the trip or the train or whatever, I'll try and answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll think it.
up and see if I lost my sand.
So check that one out. I know the VIP car sold out pretty fast. But that's also
I lost it on. I would have been there sooner, but I had to deal with a supervisor, which took 15 minutes to come to give me a comp off my dip because the guy threw it out. I said to the dude, "What are you doing, man? I'm not done." "Oh, I'm sorry." Like most of my sandwich was on there.
That was funny. I'm sad.
You don't throw people's food out till they're done. Yeah, but those were Nikes. Those were Nike sandals.
I want to hang out with you.
I'm going home and pass out.
Oh, well, that's not fun.
Yeah, my life expectancy these days is about 12 hours.
Yeah, mine too.
So I hope everybody enjoyed my trip on the Virginia Truckee Railroad. On my way back, I didn't get the seats on the north side, so I ended up having to get up out of my seat. That way I can get some nice scenic pictures. pictures or scenic video along the way. But it's a nice ride. It's about an hour and a half one way, 12 miles. It only goes about 10 miles an hour. But it goes through the Virginia range up to 6,200 feet. And it goes through Carson City, part of Carson City, up through Silver City, then Gold Hill, and then eventually it stops in Virginia City where you get off, and then you can do whatever in Virginia City, shop, go eat. We went to have a few drinks, went to have lunch, and then I got back on my train. I was almost late because they had to give me money back because they threw my food out by accident and I wasn't done eating. And I told the lady so she comped me, but it took 15 minutes to comp me and get a supervisor. But it's a beautiful ride with lots of scenic views. I've been wanting to do this for 15 years and I was able to do it for you guys. And so I did a lot of filming. I'm sorry, people's heads on the way. It's Father's Day, so they had, every car was full to the max. I mean, they had a full load. They sold out all their tickets. So I really didn't have a lot of opportunity to film. I tried on the way back, put my camera out the window and filming, but some guy kept getting his hand in the way because he was filming too. So I did what I could. I'm going to put this on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you really want to take the train, if you really want to take this train, you're going to have to take it to see the whole route because it's, you know, it's 12 miles and I filmed probably about 9 out of the 12 both ways, so about 18 miles worth I filmed. It's going to make its way back to Virginia City now. But thanks everybody for watching my video and showing your support. The train's kind of rough at times, so it's hard to even stand and film. So if it's a little shaky, it's because I have fibromyalgia and nervous system damage. And everybody keeps coming down on me. It's like, look, I got medical problems. I'm just trying to film and do the best I can for you guys. I'm sorry if it's not good enough. If you don't like the film or the footage, then I suggest you buy a $50 ticket and you take the train yourself. Because my job here is not, my job is to show you something and then get you guys off the couch to do it yourself. That's why when I go to these locations and I film them, I do them for you guys to get you off the couch so you do it yourself. That way you can take your own photos and video, just kind of like what I'm doing. But anyways, happy Father's Day to all you lovely dads, all you dads out there that make a difference in your children's lives. It's Father's Day 2025. This is the Eastgate Depot in Carson City here at the Virginia Truckee Railroad train route to Virginia City. And I took both ways, one way there, one way back. I got round trip tickets today and it's awesome. They serve you drinks, Bloody Marys before you get on board. The conductors are really nice. The guy that does the speaking on board, he's really awesome. He does a great job with the history and cracks jokes. He's got a good sense of humor. I mean, everybody's so nice that let me get up and stand in the very back right here and film. I was on the back. I was in 2 different cars today. One from 2000, one from 1916, and then this one from 1914. So I got to go in 2 different types of cars today, train cars, and I filmed off the back end a little bit, and they allowed me to do it, and that was really nice of them. So I'm pretty excited. I did lose something out of my bag, so I'm gonna have to drive up to Virginia City. It's about a 20-minute drive and see if I could find it. I was running to catch my train because I almost didn't make it, and shit was falling out of my bag, and I'm like, oops. Anyways, I got it hooked up because this is a steam and oil train. They don't use coal or anything like that. They use recycled oil and steam to operate it. And it takes about 3,000 gallons to operate it from Virginia City to here. And that's, you know, I mean, round trip. 12 miles one way, 12 miles the other way. But still, nothing beats these type of engines. I still think these are the best engines ever made. These old steam engines. And you're not going to see many of them. You're not going to get to ride on many trains like this. So if you have an opportunity to do so and you want to come up to Virginia City, I highly recommend you get on in Carson, go to Virginia City and take it back and just make a day of it. Anyways, peace out everybody. Peace. This is Lord Rick, and I'll see you for our next adventure coming up in the